My name is Nicole Kaya. I want you to first know I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am just a single mom that has been a single mom for a lot of years and wanted to just share some tips and tricks of wisdom that I've learned along the way of being a single mom. So with that, here we go. So today I wanted to talk to you we wanted to talk about prioritizing, because as a single mom, sometimes it's hard to prioritize your life, and it's hard to prioritize your own life. And then when you add children in, that's a monkey wrench that's thrown in. So now you're not only prioritizing the life for yourself, you're prioritizing the life of another individual or two individuals or three individuals, depending on how many children you have. That is the amount of people that you're dealing with. And now your life is not just yours, it's yours and other people. So where would you like to start? Do you have a question, or do you want me to just start off?
Let's talk about this. Let's make it like a one-on-one, like a girlfriend talk today. How about
Yeah.
that? Because a lot of times, when single moms are out and, trying to live life, they don't make time for themselves.
Yes.
It's always the child has this going on, the child has that going on. And then when it's time for the mom to have something going on, the mom's priorities are always last. How do we
Yes.
get over that hurdle?
I think that as we're prioritizing our time, we should write that into our priorities. Put that as a part of our schedule to prioritize time for me. One of the things that I've tried to do is like a year or two ago, I started prioritizing time for me. So going to the nail salon, that's my me time. That's supposed to be childless, kid free. And it's time for me to just sit down and recoup. Um, and that's what we have to do. Whatever it is that you feel that you like to do. And sometimes, as being mothers for so long, we get lost in figuring out what it is that we like, because we get stuck into the schedule of, I go to work, I come home, I take care of kids, I'm cooking dinner, I'm either washing clothes, which I have to do soon, or the different things that are going on in life. Or you have kids' doctor's appointments, you have dentist appointments, you have sports events, you have sports training, there's other things that are in your schedule, and trying to prioritize time for you is the hardest thing that we often find. It's hard for us to fit in. And we need to figure out the things that we like so that we will be able to do those things when we get a moment, and it not be generated around, oh, I'm going to take 5 minutes in my room. That's where we start. We start with the 5 minutes in our room. I used to have to tell the kids, when I come in the house, when mommy comes in the house, give me 5 minutes so that I can breathe and get myself together and get myself ready and prepared to deal with life at home, because now I've dealt with life at work, and things could be going on at work. Kids don't know that. Kids don't understand that. And their mind and thought process is only mommy, give me, daddy, give me. And that's where their minds and thoughts are. They never think about, oh, mommy may have something to do. So we also have to also make that clear to kids. I think we don't give children enough credit, because we always think that children don't know, but children do know. I remember when Jeremiah was at a very young age, and when it was at that time of the month when Aunt Flo was coming to visit, I got into a schedule and I was like, Jeremiah, there are certain times and points of the month where you just got to let mommy go. Because mommy already feels like she's going to explode, and I don't want to explode on you. So we're going to call that mommy's time, so that you don't drive mommy crazy, and mommy's already going crazy, and we'll just leave her where she is so that I can be able to not take out all of my frustration in life. Because sometimes when it is that time, we feel like all the pressure of all the emotions and all of that all that extra estrogen that's moving around inside of us causes us to feel like we're already frustrated in our minds. And then if the kids, like, that's an extra added thing, and it just becomes too much sometimes. So I just remember just telling him, like, okay, there are certain times of the month where you're just not going to pressure mommy to get what you
Yeah.
want, because you got to let me have my moment. And he understood it. And I think that's the thing that we don't do. We don't give children enough credit for understanding that, yes, today might not be the day to bug mommy, or today might be the day, give mommy a break and give me a few minutes, give me 15 minutes, give me a half an hour. And then I'll be able to come back and be able to come back with a clear mind to give you what you deserve. Because it can be unfair when we're taking our frustrations of life out on our children, because they're the closest thing to us. And then when our children grow up and they're frustrated and they're blowing up and all that stuff, we're wondering, like, where'd you get that from? Well, they got it from watching you do it all those years. So that's the way we try to eliminate that. So again, it's important to set it as a part of your schedule to prioritize time for you to regroup and get yourself back together.
Well, you have a unique situation.
Yes, I do.
You have 3 children,
Yes.
one who has special needs. So
Yes.
you have, and then you have one that's in what, middle school, and into middle school? Is she going to middle
Yes.
school?
Jesus. Yes.
And one that
Yes.
just graduated high school, and then one that's grown. So you had like one empty nest, and you have one that's coming out of, who has special needs. It's funny because, like, coming to high school, you're like, okay, I'm free, but you're not. And then
Yes.
you have one into middle school. So it's like your life is always going,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
even though you want to have time, you still have to somehow compartmentalize your life to still make time for each of your children in their different stages of life.
I'm
How is
glad
that
you brought
going?
that up. I'm glad you brought that up because it's very challenging. Because one thing my children do that I really don't like is, mommy, you love me more. Mommy, I'm
Mhm.
mommy's favorite child. I'm the favorite child. No, I'm the favorite child. And I'm like, you all are the favorite child,
Yeah.
you know? And they're like,
Yeah.
no, we know who you love more. And it's like, no, they're all, number one, in different age groups. So they all have different needs. And they're all at different stages. So being as they're all in different ages, all in different stages, and they all have different wants and needs. So that's also another priority that comes into play, because you have to serve those different priorities. It looks like, oh, you love one more than the other. No, that's the child that's in need at the moment. So you have to take care of that need. And
Yeah.
whatever need is there, that's what you have to do. And sometimes when they all come with a different need, then you have to also prioritize the level of the need that's coming before you, because you still have to take care of them all. And that's the one thing we also have to realize with our kids. Our kids don't know. They only see what they see, and they only see it through a lens of, that's their lens. They don't see the other stuff you're doing behind the scenes. They don't see the other work that's put into it. There were some things going on with my daughter and seeing her therapist. So I had to step away from my desk at work, and I had to go and I had to make sure that we took care of what we needed to take care of concerning it. And then this is also a great thing that people need to know, that once your child turns 13, if they're seeing a therapist, they're considered an adult to the therapist. They do not have to disclose anything to their parents. It's only up to the parents to keep themselves involved in what's going on with their child. And they don't have to know what the therapist is actually talking to the child about, but it's about the priority of being able to make sure the appointments are getting scheduled, making sure that the child is going to the appointments. Like, those are the things that are a priority. And because they're considered an adult, the therapist doesn't want to talk to the parent. They want to talk to the child. And, I even had my daughter's therapist ask me, she was like, is it she that wants to be in therapy, or is it you that wants wants to be in therapy. And furthermore, it's none of her business. She needs to be in therapy. And there's a reason why she's in therapy, because if she's not going to her therapy appointments, the psychiatrist won't see her, and the psychiatrist can't prescribe her meds if she's not going to therapy. But but that's none of her business. That should already be in her file, and she should already know that. But we can't see the psychiatrist to schedule the appointment unless she's going to her therapy appointments. And it's not that she doesn't want to be in her therapy appointments. She's not thinking about it. It's not a priority in her life. And because it's not a priority to her, it's not something she's thinking about taking care of. So these are just things that I had to learn along the way. I had to pick up the tools and equipment as I went along. And again, children don't know that. And because they don't know about the extra things that their parent does, they only see mom as being the superhero or their dad as being a superhero. They don't know the behind the scenes work that's put in to making sure that they're straight, that they're getting what they need, that everything in the house is taken care of. We do the groceries, we do the laundry, we make sure the house is clean. Yes, we make them clean the house. You know why we make them clean the house? We make them to clean the house to learn and mature in it, so that when they one day have their own house, they'll already have the tools. They don't know that they're picking up tools as they're doing all the things that they're being required by their parent. They just look at it as, oh, my mom is making me do this, or my mom is making me do that. It's not about any of that. It's about them picking up the tools so that when it is time for them to be an adult and be on their own, that they'll have those things in play.
Yeah, their life skills, they're important because they have
Yes.
to learn those things. It's funny that you say that, because being a single parent that has to deal with a child with special needs is so, oh my gosh, it's so many different facets of it. It's amazing. I was at a play not too long ago, and I guess I'm not sure if the dad was single or not, but he was there with his daughter. And you couldn't tell if she had special needs or not. So it was a point in the play where the girl in the play had took pills and she passed out. And that part in the play was so impactful for her that she bust out crying, and she cried through the rest of the show. And all he could do was just comfort her and hold her. But she cried and cried and cried and cried, and everybody began to stare. But he knew that what she needed, and people was like, well, if he knew she was going to be crying, he shouldn't have brought her to this type of play. There was no kind of disclosure to say that this was going to be in this type of play. So I think that people should be kind of sensitive that if you want to be putting some type of stuff like that into the play, that you will make people aware that there will be some kind of sensitive information in the play that could affect various groups or types or whatever. So eventually, he stayed as long as he could, and he gave her food because food helped calm her down, but not long, because when it went back to her mind, she cried again, and she was crying loud. She was like maybe 12. So it's hard to live day by day activities and not have to deal with the different things that happen when you have children who have different needs,
That, that you say that is, that's going to be a topic one day. I'm going to deal with that for just thought process. But my mind went into so many different ways. But one of the things is because my daughter, she's right on the cusp of it. So when people look at her, she looks like a normal child. It's not until you have the conversation that you understand that there is a developmental delay. And because of that, because people look at her like that, it's hard sometimes, because they're looking at her like, don't you know, or aren't you grown, and aren't you this, and aren't you that? And it's like, no, sometimes she holds on to information and sometimes she doesn't. And I wish I could click in that part of the brain that she receives it all, because sometimes you can have a conversation with her and tell her to repeat back to you what you said, and she can repeat it back to you. But the action of it doesn't click for her. So, I've had to give her a lot of grace And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you have multiple children, they don't understand why you're giving one child grace that you don't give to the other. And they're
Yes,
like,
yes.
no, she's fine. She's okay. And and it, it's not always a thing, but it sometimes is more there's more of a microscope on it than it is not. And
Mm-hmm.
being able to help her and try and get her to a place, sometimes it's hard because if she doesn't have the motivation on that day, then how am I going to get her to be motivated? So I have to do
Yeah.
different things like, I always say like the pandemic had good things to it and the pandemic had bad things to it. Everybody had to deal with it in their own different ways. Well, two of my children don't want to go outside hardly ever. And it's like, because they had that time. So it's like, well, why do I want to go outside? I didn't want to go outside. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I do with her is I try to make sure she at least some days I'll let her stay home and be in the house and just watch TV. But then there's other days I'm like, no, we need to go outside. You need to get some fresh air. You need to interact with other people. You need to have an experience, because how do you know if you don't like an experience if you never try an experience? If you try it and you don't like it, then we can go with that. But if you don't try it, how will you ever know that you don't like it? Or maybe you do like it, you know. Yesterday
So
she
with
did
that,
the
go ahead. I'm
huh?
sorry. No, go
Yesterday
ahead.
she did the craziest thing, and I had to keep a very level head so that she didn't fall apart, because it was something that could have made her really have a real meltdown. She left her phone on the top of the car,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't realize she did until we were on the highway and someone said something just flew off the car. Does everybody have all their stuff? Does everybody have their phones? And she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Then she was like, wait, I don't have my phone. And I could hear it coming. Hear, don't worry, we're not going to fall apart. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
just handle it. And she was like, but no, we're not going down that road, because once you start traveling down the road in your memory, like the little girl at the play, like once they're there, it's hard to bring them out, because then they start thinking of everything. Her mind went so far as to even say, she was like, is it Jeremiah going to be mad at me because it was his phone? And I was like, but it's no longer his phone. It was your
Mm-hmm.
phone. So why would he be upset with you about something that happened to your phone? She was like, but it
Mm-hmm.
was his phone and he had it for so long. And I was like, that has nothing to do with it. That was the past, and we're here now in the present. And sometimes that, like you said a few minutes ago, it can trigger. So any little thing can trigger the thought pattern and the mind to go into all different type of places. And I just, I've learned over the years, like you gotta try and keep them on task, because that's something that they can go off into different things.
Mm. And it's amazing because with that, I say we spent probably 10, 15 minutes talking about one child, and you still have two others. And
Yes,
our topic of conversation is how to prioritize as a mom.
yes, yes. And
So it's still like, okay, I'm dealing with one child, I still have two others, and I still have me.
yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
understanding that I'm still important. Because if you burn out on the one, or you burn out
yes,
on the two or the three,
yeah,
if you don't make time for you, you won't have time for any.
yes, yes. That's why I'm saying it's so important to put it in. If you have to write, I'm a visual person. I have to sometimes see something be for it to be, but I have to basically write it down so that remember to prioritize me, because it's that one child today, but it could be another child, because then the other child was like, well, my phone has cracks in it. Why can't we get my phone fixed? And then the other
Mm-hmm.
was like, I need a whole new phone that he just got. After he just got the phone 2 months ago. I need a whole new phone. Like it's so when one child, they're all like, I wanted to, I wanted to. But that's not the priority always. So it's just like, that's why it's so important to be able to say, oh, okay, we'll take care of this X, Y, and Z, or put something on your schedule to look forward to, like a weekend getaway with people your own age.
Mhm.
Getaways are important so that you can be able to regroup
Yes.
and get yourself back together, because sometimes it can be very strenuous when you're dealing with children 24/7 every week,
Mhm.
every month, and that's all you deal with. You deal with children and you deal with work. Where
Yes.
do you come in? Where does
Yes.
time for you? Because
Mhm.
sometimes that 15-20 minutes is not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's a starting point, but it is good to work to like a getaway, a weekend where you could deal with other people that they don't necessarily have to have kids, because when you're around people that have kids, that's all you begin to talk about. But you
Yes.
need to be able to find
Yes.
a way to have time just for you and do the things that you like. Go to a new place, visit a new place, even if it's something as simple as going to the museum, even if it's something
Yes.
as simple as going to a movie, even if it's something as simple as going to see a play. You need to be able to prioritize something in your life that's about you and that doesn't necessarily involve the children, so that you could just take a deep breath, so that you can
Mhm.
maybe even feel, because sometimes as a mom we're in
Yes.
a mode, and it is that superhero mode of mommy has to take care of everything or daddy has to take care of everything, and then you don't have that moment, because there are things in life that oftentimes hit us as parents and we have to deal with it. But on top
Yeah.
of dealing with it, that child still doesn't leave your front face, because they are still there and they want to be acknowledged. They want to be seen. And you still have to deal with the cares of life, that's adult life, and deal with the child too. So it's
Yeah.
good to prioritize that in your life somewhere. It's so, so important. If it's it's so monumentally important.
Yeah. Or you've been getting some 3x5 cards, hanging it up and putting it in front of your face so that you can remember to breathe, remember to take time, remember to prioritize yourself, remember to schedule a massage.
Yes, yes,
Remember what you like to do before you had children. You
yes,
know, remember, like, schedule. A lot of times people don't want to have people around because you don't really want to involve people into your space, or
yes,
involving people into your problem or your issue or your life, because this is
yes,
my life and I can handle it and it's something I had to do. But sometimes it's great to have a tribe. It's great to have a village.
yeah,
If you have a village, if you have a tribe, then you have some respite time. You have some people that
yes,
can say, "Hey, I'll watch your kid for you, while you're doing whatever. You go get your time. We're good." And you
yes,
can know that they're safe while you go and let your hair down and breathe.
yes, yes.
That's
And
important.
it's definitely important, because sometimes, as a mom, because you are there and you're in your house, sometimes that moment does not inquire of you being in your house to take that moment, because in your house lies all the issues, or lies all the everything that's going on in life. Sometimes you need to come outside of your house, smell some fresh air, and take a moment, because that is a recharge, that is a regroup, that is a refreshing. Those are the things that help you again enjoy life. It helps you to be able to reset so that you can be able to take care of that which you need to take care of.
Yeah, awesome. But we're gonna have to do a part 2 for this. And this so in
I can't hear you right now, I'm sorry.
we didn't get into it.
Oh, there you
I'm
are.
sorry. I'm sorry. I said, it's gonna have to be a part 2. There's so much involved into making yourself a priority. And we didn't even get into the dating part. That's a
Yes.
whole other part of it. Yeah. Mm. So, well, we're gonna do a part 2 to this. But is there anything else that you want
Yes,
to say before we end?
because adding an extra now imagine adding an extra individual. that now wants to also be a part of the priority. So now you have to figure out how to prioritize not only your children and yourself, but now another individual that you're going to prioritize in your life.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, look, that's what I'm trying to tell you about.
Yeah.
Look,
Yes.
yeah, it's challenging.
So,
It's challenging.
yeah, make sure you tune in for part 2. It's gonna be
Yes.
interesting. Okay. So, how you want to end this out on Straight Talk Single Mom?
Yes, I just want us as women, us as single fathers, to remember that there has to be a moment for us to regroup, recharge, reflect, so that we can come back refreshed, refreshed and have good, clear eyes to look at whatever situation that we're dealing with, whether it be with our children, whether it just be with ourselves in general, because that's the part, realizing that there are things that are going on in our lives, and those are the things that we are often faced with. But if we never get a moment to be able to clearly evaluate, we'll be going down the same path. You can't have new results with the same old action. If you don't change something, it will stay the same. And that's why it's important for you to take that moment to get recharged, regroup, and refresh, so that you'll be able to look at things in a new light and be able to feel better yourself, because you don't want to be run down. You don't want to be ragged, looking like the little cartoon character with the eyes, with all the little red squiggly eyes, lines in his eyes, because you can look good on the outside and still feel run down on the inside. So we just have to make sure that we take that time to really be refreshed.
Yeah. Amen. Join us next time. It's gonna be
Yes, hope to see you
good.
again. Please tune in for part 2. That's going to be the real interesting one, talking about adding dating into all of that.
Yes.